Brahma Jamataram Munim Ramya Jamatri Yogindram Padareka Mayam Sadakata Yattatma Sattadim Ramanuja Munim Vaje Loka Gurum Gurubhi Saha Purvaihi Kurakulottama Samudharam Srinagapatya Birama Varesham Deep Prashayana Gurincha Vajeham Lokacharya Gurave Krishna Padasya Sonave Samsara Bogi Sandashta Jiva Jiva Tave Namaha Lokacharya Krite Lokahite Vachana Bhushane Tattvartha Darshino Loke Tanishtascha Sudurlabaha Jagadacharya Rachite Srimat Vachana Bhushane Tattvajnanancha Tanishtam Dehinate Yatindrane. The most merciful Lokacharya has given us this wonderful Grantham, SrIvachana Bhushana Divya Shastram. This SrIvachana Bhushanam is glorified as a Divya Shastram, divine Shastram, that means a divine scripture. That is because Lokacharya has given all the most important principles which we need to follow as per our Purvacharya's divine wish. Because of this fact, this Grantham is glorified as Divya Shastram. Manavada Mamanigal, out of his great compassion, has given an elaborate commentary for this wonderful Grantham. Lokacharya has given many Rahasya Granthams. Mumukshupadi, Tattvatrayam, SrIvachana Bhushanam are the most important among the Rahasya Granthams given by Lokacharya, and even among these three, SrIvachana Bhushanam is considered as the ultimate Grantham, which clearly explains all the important principles which we need to know. Mumukshupadi is the foundational Grantham. Every Sri Vaishnava, first after Panchasamskaram, should hear Mumukshupadi and study it thoroughly, because that is the foundational Grantham for all of us. Only after studying Mumukshupadi, one will have good understanding about our Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, because it talks about Rahasya Trayam, Tirumantram, Dvayamahamantram, Charma Shlokam. These three are very elaborately explained in Mumukshupadi. After studying Mumukshupadi, after having the fundamental understanding of our Sampradayam, one should study SrIvachana Bhushanam also and understand the principles very, very clearly. This SrIvachana Bhushana Divya Shastram is divided into 6 sections. We have seen this many times. Purushakara Vaibhavancha Sadhanasya Gauravam Tadadikari Krityam Asya Sadguru Upasevanam Haridayama Hetukim Guru Rupaya Tanchayo Vachana Bhushane Vadat Jagat Gurum Tamashraye. It's a famous shlokam which explains what are all the 6 principles which are explained in this Grantham. Purushakara Vaibhavam is the greatness of Sri Mahalakshmi Pirati. Sadhanasya Gauravam is greatness of Bhagavan, who is the Upayam. Tadadikari Krityam, that is the conduct of a Jivatma who has surrendered to Bhagavan, who has accepted Prapatti or Sharanagati as his means. Sharanagati means accepting Bhagavan as the Upayam. So such Prapanna, how should he live? That is explained in the 3rd section. That is where we are currently in. In that, we have seen up to 242nd Sutram, and we have started seeing 243rd Sutram. Yesterday, we saw the introduction section and the simple meaning of the Sutram. This is a very elaborate Sutram where Lokacharya explains the daily routine of a Sri Vaishnava, how a Sri Vaishnava should conduct himself in his life. We saw the simple explanation of the Sutram yesterday, starting with ippadi sarvaprakArathTalum, hEthuvAna, ahankAraththukkum, adhinudaiya kAryamAna vishaya prAvaNyaththukkum, viLainilam AgaiyAlE. From that, we saw up to Sadacharya Prasadathale vardhikumbadi pannikondu pora kadavan. So we saw the simple meaning, how we should think about certain entities, about self, about materialistic people, about Sri Vaishnavas, about Bhagavan, Bhagavatas, Acharya, Shishya, and so on. We saw how we should think about every one of these entities. And then we saw ahankara, artha, kama, what these three cause in oneself when one has ahankara, artha, kama. When one is attached to these, what is the result of that? That was explained. And then one should understand that noble qualities of Atma, of self, cannot be caused by oneself. One cannot create them in oneself. And it cannot be created by others as well. Only Bhagavan, through an Acharya, can make those good qualities manifest in a Jivatma. And then we saw how one should be detached in worldly affairs and how one should be attached to spiritual matters. And then we should consider that there is nothing to enjoy in this material world. That attachment in the material world should be given up, and one should sustain oneself to serve Bhagavan only. And whenever there is a suffering occurs in a person, such person should think that that is because of one's own karma and Bhagavan's kripa. We are going to see all of these in detail. And then one should not consider one's conduct as a means to attain anything. One should conduct oneself in a very dignified, very spiritual manner, as a realized person should do it. One should not expect anything in return for that. Then one should have great attachment and affiliation towards the conduct of great Sri Vaishnavas. When we see others being very noble, when they are correct in their anushtanams and so on, we should have a desire to observe that and enjoy that. And then one should have great attachment towards the divine abodes of Bhagavan. Wherever Bhagavan is staying in Archa form, divine deity form, we should have great attachment towards all of those abodes. Then one should be involved in Mangala Shasanam. One should have aruchi, distaste in worldly aspects. One should have longingness to reach Bhagavan as soon as possible. One should know how to conduct oneself towards Sri Vaishnavas and others. One should have full control over one's food. One should have favorable association, and one should give up unfavorable association. And one should firmly believe that all of these happen based on Acharya's mercy. So that is the simple explanation which we saw yesterday. Now we will see section by section. It's a very detailed commentary. Manavada Mamnigal has given a very wonderful commentary for the Sutram, just as in other cases, where he has gone through every single word and he is explaining these principles very nicely. Let us see the commentary of the Sutram now. So first, Sadacharya Prasadathale vardhikumbadi pannikondu pora kadavan. Up to that point, the commentary is given by Mamnigal. Ippadi. So from the first word, Mamnigal starts to explain. Ippadi here means in this manner. In this manner, that is, for the last several sutrams, we have seen what kind of defects one can accumulate and manifest. So based on all of those are being identified here. We have to just recollect what we have seen up to 242nd Sutram. ippadi sarvaprakAraththAlum nashahetu agayavadu. That is explained here. SarvaprakAraththAlum nashahetu means the self jivatma, when present in this material world, in a body, it is going to be causing disaster in all different ways. Because we are attached to so many materialistic aspects, we are going to dig our own hole where we will fall constantly. That is being explained here. Now, this we've seen how these ahankara and other aspects, they will vishaya pravanyam. For example, ahankara is both considering oneself to be body and considering oneself to be superior. Both are explanation for ahankara. And then vishaya pravanyam, attachment towards worldly pleasures. Now all of these will finish one directly, swarupena. That is, they will themselves cause disaster, and further they will also make one commit bhagavata apacharam, offenses towards bhagavatas, and further finish the jivatma, finish the entity. Now here, finishing means one will become like asat. Asat is worldly entities, matter, which does not have any knowledge. So Atma, even though very knowledgeable, due to being engaged in worldly pleasures, due to being engaged in ahankara, Atma will become just as good as asat only. That is explained from asanneva. It is in Taittiriya Upanishad, where it is said asanneva bhavati. When one is lacking knowledge in spiritual matters, one does not understand who is Atma, who is Bhagavan, then he is as good as matter only. So this ahankara and vishaya pravanyam, this independence, considering oneself to be body, and attachment to worldly pleasures, these will put hurdles to the attainment of Bhagavan, and it will also cause oneself to become like matter, oneself to remain like matter. Now, Mamnigal explains here, ahankara is in the form of dehatma abhimanam, and considering the Atma, which is beyond body, understanding that Atma is beyond body, but considering the Atma to be independent. So both of these are explanation for ahankara. Because ahankara, usually we relate that word directly to pride, ego. But ahankara also implies dehatma abhimanam, that is considering body to be the same as Atma and without understanding the difference. So that is ahankara, and as well as considering oneself to be very independent and being very prideful. So both are explained here. Both are together highlighted here when the cause of this whole downfall is explained. So both are explained here. Now, adhinudaiya kAryamAna vishaya pRavaNyaththukkum, that is explained next. The ahankara leads to vishaya pravanyam. When one is attached to body, or when one considers oneself to be the same as body, oneself to be superior and not dependent on Bhagavan, then that leads to vishaya pravanyam, that is attachment towards, desire towards worldly pleasures. See, desire is not wrong when it is in spiritual matters. When one desires to serve Bhagavan, when one desires to remain in one's natural position, there is nothing wrong with it. But when the desire is placed in inapt objects, that is when the problem occurs. This is why Bhagavan also says in Bhagavad Gita, take your mind away from all of the worldly aspects and place them in me. Place them in me, who is identified as auspicious abode, Shubhashraya. Shubhashraya means very auspicious abode. So Bhagavan instructs Arjuna to withdraw his senses from worldly aspects and place those senses in Bhagavan. It is impossible to withdraw the senses and keep them inside ourselves without any action. When we are in this world, we will be having knowledge. We will want to act and enjoy. So we have to act in apt ways, in the proper ways. That is, act in service of Bhagavan, in service of Bhagavatas and so on. That is to be understood. So Vishaya Pravanyam is not good, but Pravanyam towards Bhagavan and Alvars and Acharyas, Bhagavatas, that is good. So that is the principle here. Now Vishaya Shabda, here the word Vishaya means both Anukula and Pratikula. Anukula is Vihita Vishaya. Vihita Vishaya is what is allowed in Shastram. In Shastram, certain enjoyments are allowed. For example, a Grihastha can remain happily with his wife. A Grihastha can enjoy very sumptuous meal, betel nuts, betel leaves, and so on. So these are all Vihita Vishaya. And then there is Nishiddha Vishaya, forbidden acts, forbidden enjoyment, such as enjoying someone else's wife, enjoying others' wealth. These are all Nishiddha, forbidden, rejected. So both are applicable here for someone who is a prapanna, who is fully focused on, because in the introduction itself, Mamnigal says, this is the routine, this is the thought process, conduct of a person who is considering Bhagavan as the upayam and Bhagavan as the upayam. Bhagavan is the means and Bhagavan is the goal. Only for such person, these qualities, these aspects are highlighted. So for such person, both Vihita Vishaya and Nishiddha Vishaya, both are to be given up, says Pulledukacharya and Mamnigal here. Now for that Vishaya pRavaNyaththukku, viLainilam than AgaiyAlE, because this body and self combination, the Atma, even though Atma is pure, because of remaining in samsara since time immemorial, there is no beginning for Atma's presence in samsara. Because of this reason of being present in this material world, this body is the cause of all these disasters, all these sufferings. This is the this self along with the body is the reason for it. Sometimes people say that Bhagavan has placed me in this samsara. He is making me suffer in this samsara. But that is not true. Bhagavan does not want to place anyone in samsara. He wants to help everyone. He wants to help every Atma. He is present in the Atma as Antaryami. He is trying to guide everyone in the right direction. But because of Atma's punya and papa karma, Atma's ignorance, the Atma is in the samsara. So, because this Atma is the cause of the presence in samsara, that is what is being highlighted here. viLainilam than AgaiyAlE. This ahankara and Vishaya Pravanyam, all of those are resting in the body which has the Atma. So, because this Atma along with the body is the resting place and the place where it originates, this whole ahankara and Vishaya Pravanyam originating from this body, hence this particular person who sees body and confuses oneself to be body, that is because of his confusion in the mind that this body is the same as Atma. So when one understands that this body is the root cause and self along with the body is the root cause of all of the sufferings one is going through, then what will happen is thannaik kaNdAl. If such person, when one sees oneself with this body, what should one do? That is explained here. thannaik kaNdAl, Sathruvaik pOlEyum. So when one sees oneself in this body, one should think that one is seeing the enemy. because it is this body which is keeping the Atma in this samsara. And this body is the fertile field where this ahankara and vishaya pravanyam, worldly attachment, they are growing. Because one sees the Atma in the body in this particular situation, then when one understands that this is the root cause of everything, then one should consider this body as the enemy. That is the first thing for us to think about. Because unless we are able to cross over this material world, after shedding this body, we are not going to have ultimate attainment of the goal. So this body is what is stopping us, which is holding us back. Hence, this is to be seen as enemy, says Mamnigal in the commentary here. And then, when one sees next section is avaRRukku vardhakarAna samsArigaLaik kANdAl sarppaththaik kaNdAr pOlEyum. The samsaris, the worldly people who are in this world, they are fully attached to worldly pleasures. They are not aware of spiritual aspects. They are not interested in spiritual aspects. When we see them, as we understand that they are the ones who nurture our bodily attachment as well. For example, when we want to go to the temple, at that time, maybe one of our friend comes home and he is not interested in spiritual matters, in bhagavad vishayam and so on. He will come and say, let's go to a movie, let's go to a game, let's go for an outing. At that time, when we hear that, we will get confused and we will say, okay, maybe we'll go to temple some other day. Let us go and enjoy with this person. So these materialistic people, they are the ones who are nurturing our attachment towards body and bodily enjoyments. So when such persons are seen, one should be considering that they are seeing a snake. Because what happens when we see a snake, we immediately jump and we run away from that place. We don't want to be anywhere near the snake. Similarly, we should not think about staying close with materialistic people who don't have any awareness about self, who don't have any awareness about Bhagavan and so on. So that is about samsaris. And subsequently, we see avaRRukku nivarthakarAna SrIvaishNavargaLaik kAnDAl bandhukkaLaik pOlEyum. avaRRukku means again here ahankara, vishaya pravanyam and so on. These are eliminated by the constant advice of Sri Vaishnavas. When we meet Sri Vaishnavas, what happens? We discuss about Bhagavad Vishayam. Macchitta madgatah prana bodhayantah parasparam, says Bhagavan himself in Bhagavad Gita. So when we see Sri Vaishnavas, Bhagavatas, we discuss about Bhagavan, Bhagavatas and Acharyas in a very favorable way, and that particular conversation and the interactions, these are the ones which eliminate our attachment towards worldly pleasures. So when we see such Sri Vaishnavas, we should think that we are seeing very dear relatives of us. When we see very dear relatives like father, mother, brother, we feel very happy. We see that we are in a good family, we are in a very good environment and so on, and we enjoy that. When we see Sri Vaishnavas, when we see Bhagavatas, we should feel the same way, says Mamnigal in the commentary. And after that, ISvaranaik kANdAl pithAvaik pOlEyum. How should we think when we see Bhagavan, Ishvara? Ishvara is Ishanashilaha Narayana, says even Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara. He says that this word Ishvara is apt for Sriman Narayana properly. So Ishvara means Sriman Narayana only, always, because he is the natural controller of everyone. Whoever we think that they are Ishvara in this world, they are also controlled by Sarveshvara, Sriman Narayana. So when we see Ishvara, we should think that he is like our father. Yes, when Father is the one who gave us this body, it is from Father we got this body. Similarly, this Bhagavan who is always present with us, he gave us during Srishti, every Srishti, he gives us the body and senses through which we can act and reach him. So in this manner, just as the Father who gave the body to us, Bhagavan also gives body and senses to us during the creation, and he guides us as well by giving knowledge to us. Bhagavan instructs Brahma during the time of Srishti. After creating the universes, he creates Brahmas for each universe, and then he places the Brahma in each of those universes. He places Brahmas in those universes. After that, Bhagavan instructs Vedam to Brahma. And in this manner, Bhagavan is the first Guru, Pratama Guru. And he not only instructs Brahma, but he also gives us body and senses, and then he gives us Shastram through which we can learn, and he also gives us Acharyas through which we will learn this Shastram and we will be uplifted. So here, this particular situation of when we see Bhagavan, when we see Ishvara, we should think that we are seeing our Father, how attached we will be with our Father. Because we know that Father is the one who is our well-wisher, who is always doing good for us, who is always teaching us all the important principles and so on. So such concept should be, such attitude should be seen towards Bhagavan as well. And then, AchAryanaik kaNdAl, pasiyan pOlEyum. So when we see our Acharya, how we should feel? Acharya is the one who instructs us the fundamental principles such as Rahasyatraya, Tattvatraya, all these principles which we have to know. When we see such Acharya, how we should feel? We should feel like we are seeing something which is very, very essential for us to sustain ourselves. The example given here is when a very, very hungry person, when he gets food, when he gets rice, how eager he will be. He will even fall head over heels and grab the food, and he will push the food into his stomach with great eagerness. That is how attached he will become when he sees food during very hungry time. Similarly, when we see Bhagavan as Prapannas, we should feel that he is our food, he is our sustainer, and because of him only we are sustaining. So, which makes us think that this Bhagavan, this Acharya, is the one who sustains us. He is the one who sustains us fully. So that concept should be understood, and when we see Acharya, that is how much attachment we should have. Just as someone who sees just as a hungry person sees food and how he reacts. Similarly, when we see Acharya, we should react in that manner, we should respond in that manner, we should serve in that manner, we should have attachment towards Acharya in that manner. Says in this particular explanation for Acharya. And then he is also, Mamnigal also has quoted a few pasurams, Unsire Uyirkuyai, Adiyarkindu Tithikkume, that is from Ramanujanuthandadi, Undan Meyil Prangiye Seerandri Vendiran Yan, that is also from Ramanujanuthandadi. So these pasurams, Amudanar is explaining that whenever I think about your divine form, it really is very sweet. This is Amudanar talking about Bhagavad Ramanuja. And then similarly, Undan Meyil Pirangiye Seerandri Vendilan Yan, I don't want anything other than the qualities of your divine form, says Amudanar. In this manner, the Acharya should be seen by the Sishya, by the Prapannadikari, as someone who sustains him, someone who is very, very important for his existence. That is how one should see Acharya. And then Sishyanaik kaNdAl, abhimatha vastuvai kaNdAR pOlEyum. Abhimatha Vishayam, Abhimatha Vastu is one's own wife. So here the example of wife is given because usually husband and wife share very important information, they share very intimate conversations and so on. Similarly, an Acharya should feel confident when he sees the disciple that he can discuss about Bhagavan very happily, blissfully, about the divine pastimes of Bhagavan, divine qualities of Bhagavan, divine nature of Bhagavan, and so on, in a very confidential manner with the Sishya. That Sishya being not attached to any other result, any other means. He is simply surrendered to Acharya. He is simply obeying the Acharya. When such Sishya comes, the Acharya should have a very affectionate understanding with that Sishya, affectionate relationship with such Sishya. So that is explained here in this particular section. So with this, how we should relate to different personalities, how we should relate to samsaris, how one should relate to oneself, how one should relate to samsaris, how one should relate to Sri Vaishnavas, how one should relate to Bhagavan, how one should relate to Acharya, and how one should relate to Shishya. All of these are explained in this particular section. Now, after explaining this, Pillai goes on to the next principle, which is being explained by Mamnigal here. Ahankara, Artha, காமங்கள் மூன்றும் அனுகூலர் பக்கல் அநாதரத்தையும் பிரதிகூலர் பக்கல் பிராவண்யத்தையும் உபேட்சிக்கும் அவர்கள் பக்கல் அபேட்சையையும் பிறப்பிக்கும் என்று அஞ்சி. This is very, very important. When one looks at these three aspects, ahankara, artha, kama. So ahankara, we know already, we have seen both dehatma abhimanam and swaswatantriyam. Here both dehatma abhimanam and swaswatantriyam, this ahankara, that is dehatma abhimanam and swaswatantriyam, that is considering oneself to be the body and considering oneself to be independent. Here the focus is more on swatantriyam, independence. This independence will not let one to be subservient towards anyone. The moment we start thinking that I am free, I am independent, I can do whatever I want, then we will not respect others. We will not respect the elders, we will not respect Sri Vaishnavas and so on. So that is the nature of this ahankara. So this, once one becomes an ahankari, one who has ahankara is known as ahankari, such ahankari, he will remain, as said in Sri Ramayana, nanameyam. I will not worship anyone, I will not become subservient to anyone. Because of that, this particular quality, this ahankara, will make one disrespect the Sri Vaishnavas who are our well-wishers, who are our reformers, they improve us. But when we see them, we will not respect them because we think that we are independent, we are also at par with Sri Vaishnavas. Actually, when we see Sri Vaishnavas, Mamnigal explains beautifully here that when we see Sri Vaishnavas, we should start shivering. Here is a master for us. Here is someone who can lord me over. He can order me anything. He has come in front of me. Thinking in this way, one should immediately stand up with shivering legs. One should shake, looking at Sri Vaishnavas with great obedience, with great subservience. One should immediately fall at their feet and one should serve such Sri Vaishnavas. But now this is the ideal situation. But when one has ahankara, none of this will happen because we will think he is also a Sri Vaishnava, I am also a Sri Vaishnava. I am also eating, he is also eating. I am also sleeping, he is also sleeping. I am also earning some money, he is also earning some money. So why should I consider him to be superior than me? I will not consider him superior to me. At best, I can consider him as at par with me. He is equal to me. That is all I can do. That is the mindset one may develop, and that is because of ahankara, pride, and ego, and thinking that one is independent. So that is explained here, Mamnigal beautifully. So this particular aspect is not a very healthy attitude. One should completely think that Sri Vaishnavas are our worshipable lords. They are as good as Bhagavan. That is the concept we should have in our mind. So that is ahankara leading to anukular pakkal anadaram. That is, Sri Vaishnavas are the favorable ones, and we show anadaram, we show disrespect, we show distasteful attitude towards Sri Vaishnavas who are anukulas. So that is explained here. Now, next is artham. Artham is wealth. Now, wealth will lead to desire and attachment towards pratikulas. Pratikula means one who is unfavorable for us. They are not devotees of Bhagavan, they are materialistic, and so on. So, when such people are having wealth, to get that wealth, one will do anything. One will go behind them, one will live with them, one will beg them, one will do favors to them and serve them so that we can get some money back from them, we can get some wealth from them. So, because of all of this, one becomes attached to pratikulas. So, ahankara leads to disrespect towards favorable persons. Artham leads to respect towards unfavorable persons. Respect and attachment towards unfavorable persons. That is second. So in this case, when one needs money, one will go to any extent. One will glorify, one will praise, one will sing about the greatness of the materialistic person and so on. When we see this a lot now, even Sri Vaishnavas, unfortunately, are falling into the trap of money and wealth. To get that money, one supports government officials, one supports wealthy business people. We see that sometimes it is very unfortunate that even when some people are very respectful about the culture and tradition of the temples and homes, these people, so this is the outsiders. When they come to the temple, for example, they will respect, they will stay far from the deity and they will maintain the proper distance and so on. But due to attachment towards wealth, the people who are doing service in temple, they'll say, no, no, it's okay, you can come close. Because they are getting some favors from them, they will even say such words. So these are all showing that wealth makes one do anything even if that is wrong. So that is second aspect. Artham will lead to attachment and association with unfavorable persons. The third aspect is kamam. This kamam, ahankara, artha, kama. Ahankara leads to anadaram towards favorable persons. Artha leads to adaram, attachment towards unfavorable persons. And kamam leads to upekshikkum avargal pakkal apekshai. Upekshikkum avargal, upeksha means detachment. So when this is between kama is bodily lust, bodily enjoyment. When one desires, one craves for that, one will go to the extent of going to the place of women who does not even care for him, who drives him out. Again, we can say the same for man to woman and woman to man. It doesn't matter. So the man will go to the place of woman and wait for her to accept him. But that woman, looking at this particular person who has nothing in his hand, who has no wealth, who has no power and nothing, that woman will simply ignore him and simply drive him out. You have become old, you have become very poor. Why should I have you here? You go away from me, don't insult me. If you come here, it is very embarrassing for me. That is what they will say. So that is what upeksha is. So those who hate us, we will even love them because of lust. One has desire to enjoy bodily enjoyment, engage in bodily attachment, bodily enjoyment. For that, one will even go to the extent of standing at the entrance of those who are not respecting oneself, or one who is not interested in that person. So that is the result of this particular karma. This karma will lead to getting embarrassed and getting insulted. One will become indifferent towards those things. When wise people, when elders, Sri Vaishnavas see such lusty behavior of individuals, especially prapannas, when they become like that, even the wise people will look at that and will laugh at it. They will laugh at the ignorance of this particular person. So that is explained here. So with this, how the ahankara, artha, kama, these will make one disrespect the Sri Vaishnavas, how one will become attached to Avaishnavas, non-devotees, and then how one will go behind those who are driving him out. So that is explained in a nutshell here by Mamnigal. He gives a quick summary here. Now, another explanation is given for the same sutram. Instead of ahankara, artha, kama, if it is kept as artha, kama, abhimanangal mundrum, there is another patham, that is another way of reciting this. This is an alternative text which is available for this particular section of the sutram. Instead of saying ahankara, artha, kama, it is also recited as artha, kama, abhimana. So when that is the case, so Mamnigal identifies an important point here, that in this particular sutram, this ahankara, artha, kama is also recited as artha, kama, abhimana. So when that is the case, ish, garvo, abhimana, ahankaraha, all of these are talking about pride. So because this ahankara is talking about pride, we can again have to rearrange the three aspects. Previously we saw ahankara, artha, kama relating to anukulapakkal apekshai, anukulapakkal upekshai, pratikularpakkal apeksha, and then upekshikam avargal pakkal anadaram. So we saw in that particular sequence. Now Mamnigal is explaining that if it is taken as artha, kama, abhimana, then we have to rearrange the sentence slightly so that artha relates to still anukular pakal anadaram, kama relates to pratikular pakal pravanyam, and abhimanam, that is ahankara, relates to anikular pakal anadaram. So the explanation is the same, but we have to just rearrange so that the three words here and the three phrases there match perfectly. So that is explained here, and with this we will stop today. Subsequently, in the next session, we will continue on, because we have to see from Atma Gunangal, Namalum Piraralum Pirapittukolla Onnadu. From that we have to start. We will do that in the next session. Alvar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, Emberumanar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, Vilailokaacharya Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, GR Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, GR Tiruvadigalai Sharanam. Okay, we will recite Pallandu and complete the session. பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாயிரத்தாண்டு பல கோடி நூறாயிரம் பல்லாண்டு திண்டோன் சேவடி செவதில் படியோமோடும் நோடும் பிரிவின்றி ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டு படிவாயினங்களும் ஆழ்நில் வாழ்கின்ற வங்கையும் பல்லாண்டு வடிவார் சோதி வளத்திலையும் சுடர் ஆழியும் பல்லாண்டு படைபோர் புக்கு முழங்கும் அப்பாண்டி சன்னியமும் பல்லாண்டு அடியெல்லாம்